Hello friends, in the previous video we have set up our local environment for the development. Now I'll open introduction.ipython notebook. Here we will understand the basics of matplotlib. So let's get started. The first thing, we will import the libraries that we are going to use. So we will import matplotlib.pyplot. This is the basic functionality of matplotlib, and numpy just to generate some random numbers that we can use to prepare our graphs and plots. And this matplotlib space inline is a command that is specifically for Jupyter Notebook in order to have better visual effects. If in case you don't see your virtual environment here when you create a new notebook, you can hit this part and select the virtual environment. So when you use matplotlib creates a figure, and in that figure you can do many things. You can have multiple graphs or subplots or multiple lines in a graph. You can have anything. So basic idea is that matplotlib have a figure. You can use plt.figure to create a figure. So this is our figure, but it doesn't have anything. You can see it has 0 axis. But let's say the other way to create figure is subplots. When you use these subplots, it will return a figure and axis. So when I run it, it will provide figure and axis. You can have subplots of, let's say, 2 by 2 or let's say 1 by 2, and in the subplots you can also provide the figure size as well. So here I have provided 2 by 2 subplots and figure size 15 by 8. When I hit enter, it will create a subplot. So this is one axis, this is another axis, this is one more, and this is the last axis. So we have 4 axes. At this point we haven't shown anything on the axis, but we have 4 axes, and the figure size is 15 by 8. So I hope you understand the basic idea. We have a figure and we can manipulate anything inside the figure, but we must have a figure. Now there is a simple way to plot, which is to use a plot function of pyplot. So I have a y variable and I'll use that to show a plot. PLT has many functions. Some of them are y label, x label, which is self-explanatory, y label and x label. This PLT show is just to suppress some output. So let me run this. So when you run this, when you have provided only one variable to this plot function, matplotlib consider that as y and generate x automatically. So when you don't provide x, it will consider as y. So you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and up to 10 points. Okay, you can here use marks and color for the marks. Let's say red color and square marks. So you see the line is now converted into red square boxes. There are many different shapes and colors, and you can read more about it here on Matplotlib official documentation. Now let's move forward. Let's create a y square variable. So let's just visualize it. We have y and y square. So let's plot y square by y. Now y square will become my x at this point and y will be our y. So let me plot this. Okay, you can see this x is now y square. So if you don't explicitly provide x, matplotlib automatically generate it for you, and if you provide it, it will use your provided x. Now let's move forward. We have also facility to provide the range for x and y axis. You can provide it with a square bracket where the first value is x minimum, second value is x maximum, third y minimum, and the last value is y maximum. So let's use this. Now you can see that in the previous graph we have a range up to 100, but now it is a slight bigger than this because we have used 110. If I use 120, I hope it will show that as well. Yeah, you can see it has accommodated 120 as well. Okay, and you just, I'm not sure you have noticed that I have used O for a circle marks. So let's move forward now, and let me generate a range of variables between 0 to 5 with the interval of 0.2. Now let's plot 3 different curves on a single figure. This is our first plot on the graph, this is our second plot, and this is our third plot. So let me run this. So you can see we have first, second and third graph. We can also show a legend here which describe which curves related to which parameters. So in order to do that, we will use label, okay, and plot.legend. In order to use this plot.legend, we must have provided labels. So let me run this. Now you can see we have a legend which describes that this red dots are linear graph, this blue square is quadratic, and this green triangle is cubic. Now let's move forward. We can have the same plot in a different way as well. So here I'll use subplot method. I will not provide any number of subplots, but I'll provide a figure size, and we will have figure and axis. Now the same plot function can be used in axis as well. So here I'll use the plot function to plot the curve, and then since PLT has X label, Y label and title, axis has set X label, set Y label and set title. So let me run this. We can have the same plot in a different way. Okay, I hope you get this. Let's move forward. Let's develop a scatter plot. Just to demonstrate the functionality, I have used a dictionary where we have A, B, C, D keys and corresponding values. Okay, so let's run this. So we have this A, B, C, D key for data dictionary. So what I will do is that I will use D and C to provide the color and shape of the scatter plot, and I'll use A and B as my variables for X and Y axis. So you can achieve this using this piece of code, and let me run this. Yeah, so we have this scatter plot. So the color and shape of this points, data points, is coming from the variable D and C, as you can see here. C is for color and D is for shape, and data is my original dictionary, and A is my x-axis and B is my y-axis. Now let's move forward to subplot. There are multiple ways to plot a figure with subplots. So the first is to use a subplot. So when you create a figure, so the first thing I do is create a figure, then use subplot. Now you can see I have used 1, 3, 1. That means 1 by 3, 1 row, 3 column and first figure, 1 row, 3 column and second figure, 1 row, 3 column and third figure. There is another way to achieve this, is using comma 1 by 3 by 1 as well. Whichever way you like you can use, but I usually use this numbers kind of indexing for subplot. So let me run this. So you can see we have 3 graphs in a figure, or you can see 3 subplot in one figure. Now let's move forward to achieving the same kind of a subplot with a different method. As I said, there are multiple ways to achieve subplot in a single graph. So here what I'll use figure. So here I will use this index 1 for my first figure and index 2 for my second figure, and for first figure I'll provide a figure size, and for figure 2 I'll use the default figure size. Now in the figure 1, what I'll do is that I'll plot two subplots, 1 to 1 and 1 to 2. Now in this way you need to make sure that when you initiate the first figure, the code which shows graph on the first figure just lie below the code of the first figure. In the same way, the code for the second figure is just below the part where I have initiated the second figure. Now if you want to modify something into the first figure, you just first use plt.figure and then do the modification. In that way, when you use this plot and subplot functionality of plt, it will only affect the figure, not the previous figure. So I hope you understand this. Let me run this. So you can see that this is our figure 2 and this is our figure 1. Figure 1 is coming below figure 2. The reason behind it is that we have used some part of the code below the figure 2. If I move this to this part, figure 1 will come above the figure 2. So this is another way with which you can use subplots and manipulates figure. Now let's move forward. Let's do a histogram. So let me generate some sample data first. So this is my sample data, and I'll use histogram to show the histogram of the data we just generated. You can see I have used a text functionality of plt which shows text. Now you can see it is not coming very good way, so you can modify the location of the text you want to show with these two parameters. Let me just change something. Let's just use 3. You can see it has moved upward. So this is y direction and this is x direction. So let me change it back to, let's say, 20. Let me use 40. You can see it is much nicer now. So you can manipulate the location of this text by using this x and y variable. So I think this is it for this part of the video, and in the next part we will look at some more advanced concepts of Matplotlib. If you like my work, please consider subscribing to my channel. It helps. Thank you for watching. Peace.